Hey everyone, Glen James here. Welcome to My Millennial Money. Today you're joined by
John Pigeon
and a good friend of the M3 podcast, Alex German. Hey Alex, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Hello, Alex. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you may remember Alex from an episode that we did probably a year ago-ish, and she was living in the UK. She came back home for a couple of weeks, jumped on a podcast, then we flew her back. That's what we do with guests. We fly them out.
Business class only.
All that. We do all that. We get you out here. But thank you for coming back onto the show. I think you've done some express podcasts with us before or since and all that stuff. So
And your other podcast, Gen Z Money.
Gen Z Money, yes, we did that.
Part of the furniture.
One of the other podcasts,
Yeah,
I must say.
and we also did managing money in your 20s, you and I.
I'm all over the shop.
Yes. So welcome back, Alex. She's a champion. Now, John, you might be thinking, what's a way that I can support the My Millennial Money podcast?
You was only
thinking
just before.
you was thinking that. Now, there is a way that you can support the podcast. We put together a document called the Glen James Personal Financial Plan. Now, what that is, it's a 17-page document that just details everything that I do personally in my financial life. It details my spending plan. It details all my investments, what I invest in. It details my estate plan. It details my health insurance. It just details everything that I do personally. And, you know, it's not necessarily for you to, copy me, because I don't want you to do that. But it's just a way that, one, if you're a curious little so-and-so, you might want to have a look at what I do. But more so, it is a way that you can purchase that and support the podcast and what we're doing. So if you are interested, there's a link in the show notes, and you should actually learn through looking at how I do things, how to set up your financial plan strong for growth.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
Does it show how much you eat out?
No. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
So we don't have to cover that. Now, one final thing as well, if you want to learn more and support the show, we did Glen James Investing Night School last month, I think, at the time of recording now. We've had a few people message in and email us and to say, look, can I still buy that? We've actually put it up in Teachable, the same platform that the Glen James Spending Plan is. So if you did want to rewatch, there's one video that's an hour and 40 minutes of me teaching. And I think there's another video that's, Nath, what is it, hour and a half or something? Yeah, and then another hour and a half video of me just answering questions about investment concepts. So there's a link in the show notes. And John, you attended the night school from Zoom.
I did. I enjoyed that, sitting around the dinner table with my family.
Yeah.
They didn't, but a couple of my clients reached out and said that they got a lot out of it too, and they're property heads and they just wanted to diversify their thinking, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's just understanding the concepts. So again, if you want to support the show and you want to learn about investing, we've put it up temporarily because it will form part of the full course that we're going to do in 2021. So you ready to have a chat about living in your first home, Alex?
Let's do it.
All right. So we've got Alex back in the hot seat. At the time of, last year, you purchased the property off the plan.
I had,
Yep.
yes. Back in 2017, actually.
Wow.
And the build completed around this time last year.
Yep.
So I settled November 2019.
Right. So I just wanted to, it has been a year since Alex settled, but she actually had a tenant in there for the first little while. And I just wanted to get somebody else in who's just moved into their own first home, just to chat about, any unexpected things or just to share her journey, because she's also really a competent person with a microphone. So it's always nice when you've got a podcast. But first and foremost, we've got a whole heap of things to talk to that you wrote in via Instagram. I've got one thing that I'm going to pull up and read in a minute just as a bit of a chewy thing. But before we get into these comments that the people in the community said, do you have any initial thoughts about moving into your first home, Alex, for the first time? What was that like in terms of your own budget, anything?
Yeah, I definitely had to put in the work beforehand to save some money and build a little bit of a fund to be able to pay for things when you first move in. beforehand, whether you're renting or whether you're living at home, there's an opportunity to potentially build up a bit of cash for the things that you expect, but also that you don't expect. So then you don't have to enter into buying your first home with additional debt. You're about to start paying a mortgage payment, and if you have to layer that on top of short-term debt that you might have had to seek to pay for some of those unexpected things, it might be an extra stress. So I definitely recommend spending as much time as you can building a bit of a cash buffer for the things that you expect and don't expect to pay for.
John, do you have any preliminary comments based on your own experience, 300 years ago when you first moved out into your own property, and also...
It's lovely, isn't it, Alex? Well,
and also from your own clients.
You know better than that. I actually only first lived in my own house 7 years ago because I rent-vested for the best part of 13 years. But I think first and foremost, it's an exciting time. Like, it's people's dream to buy their first home to live in, isn't it? So to tick that off is fantastic, and you want to keep it enjoyable. The way, as you mentioned, Alex, to keep that enjoyable is to plan and to have buffers and to have surplus funds to do those little things to make it feel like home. So that's I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and I think, so this episode, it is for those who are maybe about to buy their home. You can actually understand the comments that people are made once they settle, so you can be more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps, if you've just settled in your home, you might get some tips. So again, we can't really please everybody with this episode, but it's going to be a good discussion. And like anything, if you've been in your own home for the last, couple of years and all that, you might still learn something. I might get encouraged. But I wanted to start with this motherhood statement, and there really isn't any structure to this episode other than us reading people's comments and chatting about it, because I wanted as many voices in this episode as possible. There was an anonymous post in the My Millennial Money Facebook group, and when these go up, I see them as the first time just as a member as well, because Carly organises them in the team. And I'll be a bit cheeky because it's anonymous, but I do love you. But I'll read this anyway. Hey everyone. Been following this group for a little while and would love any advice I can get. Recently purchased a house. I had split my loan to 70 fixed and 30 variable. That was the advice that they received from their family, friends and broker. I currently have around 18k left after the deposit, but here's where the problems begin. 1. House needs furniture, dining tables, chairs, couch, bed, etc. 2. Appliances, fridge, washing machine, microwave, TV. 3. Additional things for the house, aircon, because summer is here, security door as it's not the safest neighbourhood at night. 4. Utilities, internet as I need it for work, gas and water. How much should I set aside to furnish the house, and how much should I keep as an emergency fund? Or if you have any other advice or solution. Now, where do I begin with that? That is the question. I would probably say a number of things. You probably, in the perfect world, before you buy your first home to live in, you really want some just cash monies aside, just as an emergency fund in life. So whether you've just bought your new house, whether you're renting, whether you're living out of a tiny house on your uncle's block of land or whatever that is, I think it's prudent to have your emergency fund set up. So this question here, they've got 18 grand, but to me it just sounds like they've got 18 grand turnkey and they don't own anything else. And I don't know if they're being dramatic. Like, I just need everything brand new. I just need this or I just need that. Like, it's great. I don't know. I just don't know. And I think you just can't have it all at once. So we have to prioritize.
That's what I did before I moved as well. I had rented for a little bit of time beforehand, but I lived mainly in furnished apartments and I had moved overseas. So I pretty much had nothing as well. And I put in a spreadsheet all of those things that you need, all the things to furnish the house, the appliances, any improvements that might need to be made. And I prioritized them. And I thought about what could I sacrifice, what was a non-negotiable that I need to spend a certain amount of money on. And then I pretty much went down the list. And the things that are at the bottom, maybe you don't get to them, maybe you get to them in 6 months or 12 months or 2 years, but you've got the things right at the top of the list first.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice, Alex, and I would concur with that, but I'd also say we don't need the best of those appliances either. We don't need brand new Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace, all those things. We can halve our costs by getting something that's going to suffice.
Totally. I think some people jump straight onto Facebook Marketplace when someone suggests it or they need a fridge. They have a quick search and they don't see anything. But Facebook Marketplace, just like when you're looking on Domain or on car sales, you're not necessarily going to find exactly what you need at the point that you look on there. Usually the good things that are good value, they go as soon as they get put up. I don't know if anyone's sold anything on Facebook Marketplace, but if you put it up there for free or with a good deal, people will message you within minutes. And that's because they have alerts set up to look for certain things. So if you're looking for a fridge in a certain area, you could set up an alert. Don't expect that the first time you go on Facebook Marketplace, it's going to be there. You might have to put in a bit of work to get a good deal.
Yeah, so I just think it's this, and John said it, like, you don't want this new home to be a curse. You want it to be a blessing. And I know in my life, I cause a lot of my problems.
Can I give you an example?
Please.
Well, not an example, but I walked up the driveway to this podcast today, and what do I see? A new Vicky in the driveway.
A new Vicky. We can talk about that at the after party. We're going to do an after party today, guys, because we haven't done one for a while. So, you just want to do, like, you just don't want this whole thing to be caused as, to have a curse. Like, I don't want you to spend that 18 grand, wipe out your savings, and you're living week on week in your new house. And I don't want you to go down to hardly normal and get everything on finance, and then, you just, again, living week on week because you wanted the new lounge, you wanted the new crap, so you can take freaking Instagram photos to make it look #goals and all that crap. That dining room table out there in my lounge room, I got given that from a client 10 years ago. It cost me nothing.
Did you cry poor and then they dropped it round?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So I think it is this. You have to prioritize.
Yeah.
You have to remove. So, and this is, okay, let's dig down on this. And I've just adjusted my seating position to get comfortable with these guys. And hello, if you're watching on YouTube, what up? You have to, at all times, remove as much emotion as possible, right? So if you're into your new house, or you're going through a process now, or you're looking, emotions can lead you astray. Okay, we've got the house now. Now emotions can lead us astray because we've got 18 grand, we need to blow it. So a couple of things there. The internet thing, that's not even a thing because that's just a bill in your normal life. To me, that's just like, no, that's, you cash flow that. It's not a capital outlay. So we have to look at things like that. Security door in a bad neighborhood. Why did you buy there in the first place?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, I think that's a priority though. If they're safety first, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I put a security door in the front of my house.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing I did when I moved in here because it was brand new. And I'll ask you what you did, Alex. I put the plantation shutters in the property, and I've got one kidney left because of that. And then I did the security door on the front, which is the 3 locks. I mean, that was $800 installed. So if I was this person all day long, you're going at the top of the list, ranking in order of absolute priority. And that could be the security door because I want to feel safe. The next priority could be a fridge. The next priority, okay, well, I need somewhere to sit. I'm getting a camp chair for 10 minutes. And that's the dance with stop being a prince or princess. You live in Australia. Things are good. You've bought a house. You've got cash. Everything's actually good. Let's slow down. Let's remove emotion. And some of these things that we'll talk about will help you, address some of these issues. What did you do from day one? Because you bought a unit.
Yeah, brand new. So you would expect little to nothing should be done. And the only thing that I could think that I spent money on were blinds along the same line, and then an NBN connectivity. And that's pretty much it. But if you aren't buying turnkey, then there's probably things like driveways, landscaping, fencing that probably would be considered for a new property that wasn't an apartment. But if you're buying not a brand new apartment and not turnkey, those things that you think about that have to be done day one, I think that should be considered in your purchase price. Even though it's not the money that you're handing over on day one, it still should be what you factor into the cost of just buying.
Yeah, over and above emergency buffers.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is where it's like, I know if you are listening, you've already just purchased the house, you know, the security door thing, and I'm just using that as an example. I mean, there could be other things, and I'm glad you flagged it because that is important. But when you are looking for the house, you need to factor in that, hey, I want this place. It hasn't got this. I need that. It'd be no different than buying a property knowing that it didn't have a back fence and you're going to have to cough up half the price. So maybe it is that bit of an audit just of the structural things that I need to get done to make it comfortable. And it's so personal. Like for me, if I moved in a place that didn't have an air conditioner, it would be installed bloody the day before I move in. You know what I mean? Because that's a priority for me because I am that prince that I was talking about.
How'd you go last weekend?
It was bloody hot, wasn't it?
No air condition.
No, I've got 3 here.
No,
Sorry?
we haven't got any.
You don't?
No, we've got a pool.
Yeah, but how do you keep cool?
Jump in the pool.
You can't sleep in the pool though.
Can't sleep in the pool.
Nah, look, we like to rough it.
Right. So I guess that's my motherhood statement for this conversation. I don't want when you move into the place for that to become a curse.
I think you can put those things in 2 separate camps. One that are non-negotiables that you're not going to be able to enjoy living there from a basic level without, and maybe air conditioning or a security door is one of them. I think the other camp...
They're so polarizingly different, aren't they? It's like security door, I'm safe from intruders. And the other side, I want to be comfortable.
But the other camp is things that are around that emotion of pride and being too proud to not have a living room that has a lounge in it, or have guests over when you're showing them your brand new house and it's not fully furnished. Like, I think if you separate some of your pride around that, or even around secondhand furniture, is my bed secondhand? Can I handle that? I think you should be able to separate some of that pride from that.
Yeah, I'd say it's not only pride, it's ego, isn't it?
Totally.
What does everyone think of me?
And I think it's important, like from a Glen James, the money guy thing, like this anonymous person said, I've got 18 grand. I'm going to assume this person has 18 grand to their name. So what I want them to do is, you've moved into the house, one, expect that your budget, your spending plan is going to look like there's been a nuclear blast. It's going to be a messy couple of weeks because things just don't, like you've dropped a nuke on your money. You got possibly new bank accounts with the mortgage. So take some pressure off yourself to make everything, perfect. It's going to be messy for the first few weeks. I would straight up allocate of that 18 grand that this person's got, an emergency fund. And it could be 13 grand. It could be 15 grand. You got to keep that aside. You've got to do that. So realistically, there could only be $3,000 left. And if you've got a solid emergency fund like that, I want you to have that as your baseline.
So we're tossing up security door, bed, security door, bed.
I think so. But also, it speaks to this thing. For those who haven't purchased their house yet, you've got to make sure you can actually afford it. And by actually afford, it means the mortgage repayments aren't more than 30% of my net take home, max.
Yep.
But actually afford it means I can go in, I own this place. If the hot water system goes the next day, which it can, things happen, have you got $900? So we can't just walk into these situations.
No, and you mentioned before, Alex, about the house and land, how I haven't got landscaping and driveway and fence, and in my world that's a non-negotiable. You've got to have that into your build, fixed price. But I can do the landscape myself, or I can put the fence up myself. Or if you are going to do that, you've got to allocate the money. So no different when I've got to buy a bed. Like you said, you had nothing because you were living in fully furnished. So you've forecasted, this is what I'm going to need, prioritised it, dollared it out, this is how much it's going to cost me. I'm not buying it until I've got those funds ready.
That's right. Some things in my apartment today are missing that I would like to have, but weren't necessary, and I'm holding out. And I think that's nice as well. Then you can make considered decisions about what you want and not buy what you can afford at that point and then throw it away in a year or in 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, and we'll get on to some responses now, but that some of those talk about that, don't they?
Yeah, well, the first response to that kind of anonymous, because it was just such a good case study. If this person's just moved in, they got 18 grand cash, there are just a couple of red flags to me. There's like, hang on, chill out. Let's get our emergency fund aside. Let's make sure we're on a budget. Let's just do priorities only. And I love what you said, Alex, about priorities and luxuries, where one person's priority is another person's luxury.
It's your money and your house and your life. So I wouldn't let anyone else's priorities or opinions try and impact the way that you spend your money or live your life.
Yeah, and I want to be clear by saying I don't want to be the killjoy. I want everyone to have their first home. But I just know from dealing with hundreds of people face to face in their personal finances that they move in, the first thing they do, they've got no money, they run back into debt, they run back into buy now, pay later, and they can't get out of this cycle, all because they want the bloody lounge, they want the bloody bed, they want the fridge. Oh, we all want it brand new. It all has to be financed. Like, we don't get a pass on maths just because we've got a nice new home.
And I deserve it.
And that's what's so like cancerous to our Western society. Like, I drive down the street and I see a billboard, and this was a couple of years ago, from Flight Centre. You deserve a holiday, so take finance out. No, shut up. There's people going without food and water on this planet. We don't deserve squat. So hear my heart. Now, Kim says in response to that, I recently moved into my first place and spent about $5,000 to set it up. I brought my bed, fridge and couch new and paid delivery to make it easier for herself. So that's good. Are you going to factor in delivery costs? Like, I need a new dishwasher. Do I want to take the Prado over and throw it in, or do I want to get them to bring it out? Everything else came from secondhand shops and Facebook Marketplace. Although the secondhand bedroom is still empty and the TV is still sitting on a box from IKEA, it's fine for now. And I think that whole thing is like, you should be so proud, everyone, that you did get into your first home. That's such a privileged thing to do. Chill out if we got a few boxes with TVs on it. Chill out if, it took me 3 years to get a sideboard. One, because I didn't want to just rush out and buy one. I knew the exact type that I wanted. It was a West Elm one. It was like $800 new, and I'm not paying freaking $800 for a sideboard. I don't care who I am or they are or whatever. Got it on sale, $200, floor item or whatever it was, threw it in the car that day. And we are, like, this episode's going live at the end of the year. If you have settled, please, please, please chill out. Wait till Boxing Day sales. I bought my fridge, my washing machine, my leather lounge, and the Boxing Day sales, you don't have to go out on Boxing Day itself. They'll last about 2 weeks. So we are in the prime time for buying stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'll just read one other one, and then I'm going to stop talking for a minute. Jeremy said, while secondhand is good, sometimes quality is better value in the long term. Totally agree. But I don't think when we say get a secondhand lounge, it's not a life sentence. It's just a temporary stepping stone, isn't it?
It's worth considering it with appliances, though, around how much do I have to pay to get the longevity out of this appliance? If I spend less, is it going to break down, or am I going to have to replace it soon? So there is a balancing act there with quality and price for the longevity.
And I would say think environmental. Like, I don't want you to just go buy a cheap freaking chair from Kmart or lounge from Kmart that's cheap and rubbish as a temporary item. If we're going temporary, buy something decent from Marketplace or Gumtree from an affluent area, throw a sheet over it, whatever. It's temporary, not forever.
That sense of pride that you have when you move into your first own home or apartment, I don't know if you can vouch for this, but I think all of that would be diminished if you had to think about a debt repayment for a short-term debt that you've gone into to purchase everything around it. I felt so much pride standing in an apartment that I knew was mine and that I'd purchased, and I didn't have a black cloud hanging over my head that this is mine, but I also still owe money to all these different people to buy things just to fill the space.
Yeah, and I'll continue what Jeremy said. I'd also not begrudge someone for buying new furniture that would last them a very long time. In terms of costs, you should be able to buy all these things for $5,000 to $6,000 if you're buying smart. And I think for the person who's got 18 grand, sure, if the emergency fund was 15 grand and they had a plan in place and, you know, they had to dip down to 12 grand for a couple of months, provided they can top that back up, that's a judgment call. This time of the year, fitting out a new house, I know what I'll do. I'll go and get all this stuff on sale if I had a plan to really not go into debt and to be cash heavy at some point. But I certainly wouldn't begrudge anyone for buying brand new furniture, but I'd say there's a systematic problem with possibly them managing money and, you know, I just don't want people to get into this debt cycle. So I'm not saying don't buy brand new. I'm saying be considered, be measured, wait till there's a sale. The leather lounge out there, I think it was $5,500. I got it for $3,500, something crazy like that. Sales, absolutely. But you got to have the cash.
That's right.
So, John.
So, Sarah Hayworth.
And these are just tips from Instagram, everyone.
Yeah, so she makes a really good point. Make mortgage repayments weekly or fortnightly, not monthly. So, no-brainer that we're getting more repayments per year out of weekly or fortnightly. Depending on when your pay cycle comes in, choose one or the other as opposed to monthly. It'll save probably, I don't know, a year or two off your mortgage by doing that. But that's an awesome tip that not everyone realises.
It might be smoother for your spending plan as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. If your pay comes in fortnightly, then it's perfect, isn't it?
Well, if on the Glen James spending plan, it actually doesn't matter when you're paid, the way I've teach, but I think it's just a smoother way to make sure that, it's just, I actually pay all my mortgages weekly out of my offset account. Don't know why. I just said do it weekly.
I think if the difference is negligible and you do it right from the start, you'll never notice the extra amount that you're paying in. So if you have some wiggle room in your budget to put a little bit extra into your mortgage repayment as well each week, fortnight, month, I've done that and it'll never notice. I wouldn't even be able to tell you what my minimum mortgage repayment is because I've just set it at this is what it is and I'm not paying less than that.
Yeah. What else have you got there, John, that stood out?
All right. We've probably touched upon these two, but they're worthwhile mentioning. Kelsey McMahon says not everything in terms of styling or renovating has to be done at once. It all takes time. So that same thing of prioritising and then gradually getting it done using maybe our savings or hanging out for that bargain that might come along depending on time of year. And Christine Stoker, I think it is, 92, says, don't buy new furniture for a new house. You don't need it. Ha, ha, ha. So, tongue-in-cheek there. It's a judgment call, isn't it? We talked about quality. We talked about environmental. We talk about price. You've just got to do what's right for you. And the main thing is forecasting what you want in your house, knowing that it's going to be long-term. You don't have to rush into it and away you go.
And to be honest, I would even say and I haven't seen any questions there, Alex, that you might pick up on. But if you buy an older house, don't just rush in and wanting to renovate, paint. Maybe just live in it for a couple of months and just get a vibe. Because what you think, when you go through the open house and you go, oh, this is great. Yeah, we could actually put that wall up there and make this and that. Well, maybe just live in it with the expectation that we're not doing anything but living and breathing. And because you might find out that 2 months in, the sun is actually a pain in the ass at this time of day in this part of the house, so we can't do that. Or, I can see the neighbours doing special cuddles in the bed from this room. I don't know.
Your mind goes to some strange places.
Yeah.
I mean, but do you get my vibe?
Yeah, well, they may have only been in it once or twice. They may have been in it for an open home inspection and one other time, and that's really it. So, yeah, spend that time.
Another practical example might be that you have a spare bedroom and you think that's perfect for visitors. I'll buy an extra bed and a mattress and it's our spare room. But COVID hits and you start to work from home, and now that's a perfect office space. And you've got a brand new mattress and a brand new bed that you want to shift and put a couple of desks in.
Sounds like you've done that.
No, that's wishful thinking that I had a spare bedroom to put a home office in. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay. How many rooms is your
Just one.
One bedroom?
Yep.
And you live by yourself?
I do, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Cheap cleaning.
Yes. So and we've spoken about it before. I think, 3 years, I'm going to upgrade. It's not going to be enough space. And now that I'm in here, my perspective has changed totally. This size apartment, one bedroom, live by myself. I feel so independent. It's so manageable. Cleaning takes no time at all. The furniture, it's pretty well set. I don't have to think about all these extra things, and it's just so manageable. And those thoughts that I had about, I need to upgrade in 3 years, probably was more from a pride place about, can I really live with one bedroom and not a lot of space?
Yeah.
How long did you think it took you to get into a rhythm with your cash flow? And like, okay, I'm paying this mortgage now, and I've got the strata things, and I've got the sinking fund if they're doing that. Yeah, all that stuff. How long do you think that really
maybe my unique situation might have impacted that, in that I had tenants in there for a year. So I was able to see what the flow of bills was over the course of a year. And when my tenants were paying the bills, that was great. But I had an idea of, okay, every 3 months, this is how much strata, rates, gas, water, electricity would probably cost. Then I could allocate a weekly payment when my blow money, for example, goes out. There's also a little fund that's building up of sinking funds. So when those bills come in, I'm ready to pay for them because I've got some sinking funds. But realistically, it's probably a quarter, I would say, by the time all of the bills have had an opportunity to come through.
Yeah. And that's why you just really, I don't want you to move in from day one, spend all your money on staff because you might need cash.
For sure.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. Do you have any comments there from people, Alex?
Yeah, there's some along the similar vein as the ones that John mentioned, which I think is pretty indicative that there is something that other people have experienced. So Elise Mia said you don't need to style or fully furnish your house straight away. I think particularly around styling, there can be, you can rush out and pick all these styling objects up and nice things to place on shelves, and rush to Kmart and buy all those little trinkets to put on your shelves just to fill the space. But I think you may end up regretting doing that and saying that was a little bit of fad, or, the styling things can come later. I think you don't need to do that all at once. Another one was from One Day of Life, who said, don't spend too much money on furniture, hand-me-downs, Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree. It's along the same lines as what we've been speaking about. I think don't be too proud to not accept hand-me-down furniture. I think you can find some really great, good quality pieces from friends and family, and looking online as well.
I would also add anyone that is about to settle on a home, maybe call around or put on your own Facebook walls or Instagram stories like, hey, has anyone got any tips for, the month after I settle on my home? And just ask people in your world. Kelsey, another one that John read one of hers before, she said renovations, don't settle on the first thing that comes to your mind, flirt with the idea for a while. And I think that's kind of cool, because I was just about to comment, like a friend of mine, Tim and Corinna was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago on the IVF episode. They just bought a brand new house, in terms of brand new to them. It's an older house. It's on a big block. It's really awesome. They're about to do some wholesale renovations, like hardcore, in the coming months. But we were kind of talking the other day, and I wanted to, kind of what Kelsey said. It's about, you've just bought your house and you want to do stuff. So you want to I want to just do stuff. So how can you scratch that itch and hedge it a bit? So instead of, like I said before, just, we're moving in the next day, we're putting a wall up here for an example. I said to Tim, because they've got to put a new front fence in, and it's a big 1,600 square meter block, so it's a decent sized block. To do stuff, scratch the itch of doing stuff, can you do something like the front fence that it doesn't actually, like a fence is a fence, like it's always going to be there. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Or it's like, can you do the veggie patch? Because if you do renovate, well, the veggie patch is always there and you are at least scratching that itch of I'm doing something to my new home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in maybe that example and a lot of people's examples is you would see what you can potentially do to something before you buy it as well. So on the way in, and we've done an episode on that, but you're thinking about what you can do to it or what needs to be done prior to taking over, and then maybe once we get in. But yeah, definitely that emotion can take over, can't it?
Yeah, and we just, for me, in my life, emotions get involved, things get broken.
Look out.
Am I right?
I have another one here from A Millennial Money Diary, who said, pack your freezer with ready-made meals when you move in. You'll be exhausted for the first few weeks. And I thought this is an interesting one, a little bit less obvious than we've talked about. But when you first move in, you may not even have your fridge yet, or your kitchen might not be set up. However, I think you should consider how we're going to eat for the first few weeks. If you don't think about that and don't plan, the temptation could be to order Uber Eats every single day, to just duck back and forth from the shops to eat out. My personal experience, I'm a big HelloFresh person. I do it nearly every week.
Hello.
Easy
Not
to whip up,
sponsored.
aren't
I just find it so convenient. So whether it's HelloFresh or Marley Spoon, if you're already doing it, redirect it to your new place, get it ready to be delivered as soon as you've got a fridge, I would say. If you've never done it before, you can get that first box for free. So that might be an opportunity to give it a test run, see if you like it. Maybe organise your Woolworths delivery or Coles delivery for pretty soon after you move in. So you have things in the house that don't lead you down the temptation of ordering Uber Eats or Deliveroo every single day.
Yeah, bit of toast and the toaster doesn't go astray.
No, we're going to take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll finish off with some other comments of yours and also some real practical tactile things that you can do as soon as you get in. All right, we're back. Now, I was thinking, I always want to be practical and give people ideas to implement. What about you move in? I want you to open up your calendar, whether you use your Google Calendar, Gmail, Outlook, whatever that is. Does Hotmail have a thing?
I guess so.
Sure, whatever. I want you to set a time in the future, 12 months down the track. Number one, I want you to set a reminder for 12 months in the home so you can celebrate. Hey, we've been here 12 months. Look how far we've come, all that stuff. Number two, I want you to reach out to your mortgage broker and say, hey, I've been here 12 months. Is it worth me calling the bank for an interest rate decrease or just a spot check? Is there something you can do just as a healthy thing? And the second one, the day that you move in as well, depending on where you've come from and what your situation is, it might be worth paying a Australia Post mail reader version just for 12 months, just so you can catch any of that crap that might still come. Some companies still live in 1921 and send paper. It's annoying. Maybe that's an option. So also
check your insurances along there as well, wouldn't
exactly, in the first 12 months. So I want you to review, because this is what happens with and to be honest, the insurance thing, like the home insurance, you've got to rush out and get a home and contents, or a home policy, not a contents, but you've got to run out and get that policy because the bank want it before you settle. And most of the time it's one of those things, quick, I'll just get one, give it to the bank, there you go, I can settle. Maybe 3 months in, you can just come up for air and go, okay, let's just double check the home and contents insurance. Let's double check my car insurance, because you don't want to be dicking around when you just moved in. Because with your car insurance, if you haven't told the insurance company that you've changed locations, the premium could be cheaper. It could be more expensive depending on the suburb that you're now living in, whether you've got it off the street, in the garage. So there's some insurances to look at as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those, I got my insurances only a couple of weeks ago for home and contents, and it's a straight 7% increase.
Jeez.
It's like checking that every day of the week.
Yeah, that's wild. I was driving around the Volvo for about 2 weeks with it being uninsured because I forgot.
Another admin thing that I would add to that list is check your smoke alarms.
Yes.
So it's something in a strata managed building that is looked after for me, but was an expense as well that I wasn't necessarily expecting when I first moved in. But if you're running your own property or house, then checking your smoke alarms, check those batteries, it's important.
And maybe on that yearly thing in your calendar entry, I check my smoke alarms at the start of daylight savings every year, just because it's that time. But maybe it is that thing in your calendar where you do a yearly thing, check smoke alarms, clean the air conditioner filters, clean the rain shoot filters at that start of spring.
Yeah.
Wash the dog, all that. Shave your legs if you're John. I just made that up, whatever. Do you shave your legs?
No,
I thought because you're a bike rider. Yeah.
No, you know why they do that?
For speed, isn't it?
No, it's look.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, some argue that they do it so that if they fall off, the greys is easier to clean, but...
yeah, well, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
But also as well, knowing that when you move into your property, it's going to be like a nuclear bomb with your money. So in that 3-month check, maybe it is time to swing around, update your spending plan, update all your expenses. Alana says, get into the good habit of immediately putting enough money aside for rates, repairs, etc. So again, it's that. I mean, and this is the whole thing, like, yes, by the book, the day you move in, you should redo your budget and all that. But me, the way I am, practical world, life's crap, life happens, just lots of moving stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get in, enjoy my new house, and then swing back around and review my spending plan.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that dance of putting in an offer, I've got pre-approval and this is how much the banks will lend me to, I've gone to an open home and I'm going to buy this thing. Maybe we didn't check the rates. Maybe we didn't check the strata body corporate fees. So now we have to forecast that back in after it's too late. So I think what you were saying before about knowing what they are and putting them away each quarter and having them there so you're not relying on future funds.
If I can be honest, guys, will you let me be honest?
Sure. I was hoping that you were from the start.
Oh, I was, but I want to get like real talk.
Okay.
So Ali Mace _C says, don't feel like you have to reno straight away. You've got time, save and recover from your deposit. Now, you may have just came out of a campaign of hardcore savings for 2 years. You're in the house. Take the foot off the gas, chill out, enjoy life. Maybe, blow $500 on a nice meal with your family or your friends or something. It's like, hey, we did this. And this is so counterintuitive money. I'm a spender anyway, but whatever. But like, you're in your house because we know the mortgage repayments can be the same as rent. So technically, you might have still excess money in your life that you were saving for the deposit. Chill out for a couple of months. Have some fun. Celebrate. Breathe out. Don't do anything. Save. Go on a nice holiday. Celebrate the huge achievement that you've made. Or keep your ass down and just do your saving and all that, which do that if you want, but that's not me. I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate that we've achieved this.
Yeah.
And breathe out.
In proportion.
And you can do that without handing over cash as well.
Oh.
I wanted to take a moment in my new apartment just to sit and be happy with this space that I was in, feel proud of that achievement, and just look around and go, this is mine. This is what I've worked for since I started work at 14 and 9 months. This is what I've worked for. So take that moment, take a breath. If you want to celebrate by having a nice dinner or whatever you want to do, go ahead. But you can also do that by just taking a moment to breathe and enjoy it.
How long did you take?
It was a fleeting moment. It really was a fleeting moment.
That was suffice for you?
Did you take a moment, when you, after rent vesting for so long?
No, I actually didn't, because by that stage I had a couple of kids, so there's no moments free.
But on that, why couldn't you? Like, if you're into meditation or yoga, it's like, you know what? This is my new house. I'm going to set up this mat or my teepee or whatever. And some people do meditate in a teepee. They do.
Russell Brand, that's who comes to mind, sitting in a teepee.
Yeah, do your thing. This is what I would do if I'm being cheeky. I would organise a housewarming party now that we can have more people over. do invites to everyone and say, housewarming party, your presence is the best present for me, but there will be a wishing well if you wish to contribute.
Sounds like a wedding invite.
Totally.
What we're saying is just enjoy the time, whether you have to spend money to appreciate it or just lie there and think about how well you've done.
There is just so many comments here. Ever Evolving says, don't start shopping, wait till you settle and figure out your space, then go shopping. And I think what we might do in a second is go round in the circle and say what our number one bit of advice is after our own experience and after reading this. And we might end it there because it's a bit of a fun episode. And we just do these ones because, we can't give you the golden, piece of advice. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. You're listening to this podcast. We're talking about one specific topic for the last, probably 40 minutes or so. We're just talking about getting into your new account. Sorry. We're just talking about getting into your new home. All right. So I want you to think about one or two things of key takeaways that you can take away from this discussion, not necessarily, having the cure for loneliness or whatever it is from this discussion. But gosh, we need to wrap this up. So,
words of wisdom,
Alex. After all that stuff, what would you say the one thing to tell people once they're in their first home?
Don't pay full price for anything.
Oh, love that.
There are so many ways. We've talked about some of them today. Buy secondhand, accept gifts from secondhand gifts from family. One of the ways that I didn't pay full price was with a trade discount from a friend. So I still get new, nice pieces, but not at full price. And also you can do like watching on prices. I think Price Hipster maybe is the name of the site where you can put a track on how much something is available for and wait for it to drop down.
Good.
John, your sage words.
Hi, look, this is something that we probably haven't mentioned and it's not that important, but I see it happen a lot. Unpack the boxes. It's a good time to get in. You may have been renting for 10 years or living at home with mum or dad. It's time for a fresh start with your new home. So unpack everything and you may find that half of the crap you don't need. So sell it, put it out on the street. But just make sure it's a fresh start as opposed to 12 months' time. We've still got 18 boxes that we haven't unpacked because we haven't needed it yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I'll finish on this. N Loveridge 95 says you'll end up at Bunnings every weekend at least once. That's like the Anchorman thing. It's like works 90% of the time, 70% of the time, whatever it is.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah. Works every time, 90% of the time. So that's it. Enjoy Bunnings. You'll find how much you love Bunnings, I think. And I'd probably say take your time, be considered, let things for the house find you. Like I took a 2.5, 3 year quest for a sideboard to find me.
Oh, yeah. It's worth the wait.
It often is, John.
Yes.
And you don't have to do it all at once. Enjoy it. I don't want it to be a curse. It's to be a blessing. Get into plants. Plant things. Make things come to life. They're yours. If you own a place that's a freehold property and there's a backyard, what about doing something cool like up the back, plant a tree or a lemon tree or something? If you plan to be there for a long time, and you're like, see that tree up there? We planted that the day we moved in. Get a photo next to it, and then...
Or your initials in the concrete next to the
all that
hot water
stuff.
system.
Yeah, do all that. Just enjoy it. Like, chill out on the hyper-consumerism. We need everything to be Instagram ready. Just enjoy it.
Yep.
Keep your cash buffers.
Do what makes you happy, not everyone else, huh?
Well, that's what Oprah would say. Would she?
I don't listen to that.
Well, we might leave that there. My last bit of advice is you got what you paid for, people. So let's have an after party.
Thanks, Alex.
So we'll be back soon. Thank you so much for coming.
No problem.
I'm sorry that this is a sham.
I thought you were going to shake it with your opposite hand then.
Yeah, we'll go left-handed shake. Are you a left or a right-handed?
I'm a right-handed.
Yeah, that felt weird, hey?
Yeah.
We haven't done an after party for a while. So I wanted to ask both of you a couple of things. You can answer either of these. What do you think was your kind of top money thing of the year? Or if you don't want to answer that, what was your biggest accidental diva moment? So were you out somewhere and you were a diva and you're like, oh my gosh. So something like that. What are we going to...
Have a think about it, Alex. You answer first.
Best money thing or diva moment? Because I know you can be a diva.
That's why I honestly couldn't pick one diva moment because
All right. Well, tell us.
people that know me
Didn't go
might
out.
say they might say that I'm a diva all the time. Like I have a tendency to not like to wear the same thing more than once.
Ever?
Not ever, but I have a weird thing about if I know that people have seen me in that outfit again.
Wow. Okay.
Was that a pride thing or?
After we talked
I
about
must
pride
say,
so much on this.
What are you wearing? Because you look really great. When you walked in
Thanks.
today, I'm like, she's dialed in with every area of her life and she looks like it too.
She said she spent hours getting ready this morning.
Thanks.
So
Yeah.
what are you wearing?
I'm wearing Beck and Bridge today.
Oh, Beck and Bridge. Wow.
Australian designer. I love Australian designer clothing. Unfortunately, the designer bit follows. But
One of my great friends, he's just taken a job at Beck and Bridge, high up, runs international.
nice. I think it's a great Australian brand.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
She raves about it.
Yeah. We'll get a photo
Shout
of
out
you
to
because
Megan.
people want to know. They want to know what you're wearing. Oh, just go on YouTube, everyone, and we'll get a photo for Instagram.
Okay.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it could be a perceived diva thing.
So a solution to this problem has been hiring. So if I have a special event or something that I know I want to wear a one-off outfit for, I will hire an outfit, usually at probably a quarter of the price. And that way I can wear it once and
Move on.
send it back to the person who owns it. There's a bit of a sustainability play in there if I want to find another
Absolutely.
excuse for it to be a good
So
thing to do.
popular that
So-
now, isn't it?
With this clothes thing, and I don't want to wear it more than once, blah, blah, blah. How, like, if you're buying your get up and you might wear it a couple of times, that can add up. So are you on selling stuff? Are you giving it away? What are you doing there?
I'm not very good at on-selling
Right.
things. I often will do a trip to Vinnie's or Salvo's and make a donation of some of my clothes. But regrettably, I let things sit in my wardrobe, hoping that I'll look at it one day and put it back on. Usually it sits there for too long and then it goes to Salvo's. Occasionally, I have hired out some of my more high-end garments myself.
Yeah, nice.
But I try to keep a bit of a capsule wardrobe in that there's a set number of pieces that can be mixed and matched with other things, and trying to avoid pieces that are, in my mind, memorable.
Yes.
Because if it's less memorable, then I feel less inclined, like someone would remember. And it's such a silly diva thing for me to think that someone would even remember what I was wearing last time they saw me. But it's just something that I can't get over in my own head.
Really?
Oh.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's like people around you have been doing the same thing over the years, or is it just unique to you?
No one has ever, I've never remembered that someone was wearing the same thing more than once, and no one's ever said to me, oh, you were wearing that before. It's totally an internal battle that I have. It's not been triggered by anyone else. I think it does also come from my interest in fashion, and I like to wear new things and things that are on trend and that are new. So I try and maybe justify in that sense that it's for my own enjoyment.
What's your favourite brand?
Beckenbridge, of course.
I do like Beckenbridge. I like Zimmerman. I like Camilla and Mark. And those are my probably top 3.
Yeah.
But I think for any of the ladies listening or anyone who's clued in on what their partner buys, you know that those brands are not, everyday brands, but I just have to try and fit it in with what's important to me, do it occasionally, not frequently, and be considered in the same way that we've talked about being considered about the furniture and appliances that you buy. I research and look at things for so long. I'm thinking about it for days and weeks and months before I maybe finally pull the trigger on something. If an event comes up, the first thing that I'm thinking about is, what am I wearing?
I bought a new shirt this week going to a wedding. So I thought, you know what? Heaps of people get new clothes to go to a wedding. So I bought a new shirt.
Did you? Why are you wearing it now?
I'm not.
Oh, it's not that.
No.
No.
This old thing. So, John.
Where's the wedding?
Oh, it's up in the Hunter Valley somewhere.
Nice.
Shout out Haley and Caleb. See you there.
Probably be over by the time they listen.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Congratulations on getting married then.
Yeah.
What's your biggest money thing or diva moment of this year?
Oh, well, I don't really have a diva moment.
Come on, I've just exposed myself and my diva ways.
Give us a diva.
I honestly don't think I've got a diva moment.
What about when I say, would anyone like a coffee? And you're like, oh, I'll get a flat white.
Yeah.
Knowing that we don't do flat whites here, we've got to walk around to the cafe and pick it up for you.
Yes. So that was tongue in cheek. I don't really want one, but I know that you wouldn't be able to deliver a flat white.
You know I would if you wanted one.
Yeah, I know you would.
Yeah.
You're one of the most generous people in this room.
And there's a lot of people in here.
I actually, for the first time in my life, bought a sizable chunk of shares for me.
Really? Wow.
Sizable for me.
Yeah.
Maybe not sizable for you, but
No. It's not about the size, it's about what you do with it. Are you going to buy and hold, or are you going to buy and trade?
I'm going to stranglehold. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to stay, at least for the next 6 months.
Yeah, wow. Interesting.
What about you?
My life's a freaking diva moment.
Yeah, you got plenty of divas.
Well, this year I bought shares, and I haven't done it before really in a startup.
Yep.
And I think I got like
You cleaned up.
800 or 900% in 2 weeks. So I bought we're in the progress of buying a boat. I'm going halves in a boat.
Proceeds.
Yeah, with a mate. Yeah, that was a good money win. It was just something out of the blue that I did, and yeah, it just exploded.
Was that a tip off?
Not really.
So was.
No, like it wasn't insider trading or anything like that.
No, I wasn't saying that.
No.
But someone said, look.
I'm on the money scene, and I talk with people. I just had confidence in what they were doing.
Yeah.
At the time. And yes, I did buy a new car last weekend.
You did.
Because people
New to you.
New to me.
Yes.
I don't buy new cars.
Was that planned? How impulse was it?
Planned, schmammed. I had it saved in my car sales app.
Right.
It had been planned.
Do you think you got a good deal?
Yeah. Yeah, I got basically 10% off what they were listing it for.
Yep.
But yeah, I had I had the old Volvo. It was a 2010 model.
Yeah, so did you trade that in?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was going to put it on Gumtree for like 10 grand. And then I was just like, I just don't want everyone like, I'll give you 2 grand, like lowballing me, because it's such a drama to sell stuff sometimes. So I took it down, and I said to them, oh yeah, tell me, if you want it. And because it had really low Ks for its age, I was expecting them to give me like 3 grand.
Yeah.
And they come back and said, oh, we can do 7.5, like 7,500. I was like, oh, geez, yeah, all right. I probably should have said, what about 8? I actually totally forgot to negotiate on the trade. But realistically, it was just less stress because the car was in Sydney. I could drive the Volvo down and drive it like. So that was because it was getting a bit old. It was, I think, the air conditioner needed tweaking, regassed or something. I didn't need regas. There was something electrical wrong with it. And then it was burning oil as well. And I'm like, I've got basically €10,000 anytime. If something goes wrong that's half a problem, I don't want to spend 30 or 40% of the car value fixing it.
Taxi.
And I had my eye on this type of car. It's a Lexus, everyone, whatever. People want to know. Because I've had 2 Lexuses before and I love them. And I wanted this shape. It's like the 2017 shape. And yeah, I pounced.
To me, that sounds like a considered purchase, not impulse. You knew what you wanted, waited for it.
Yeah, it's more considered than his previous ones.
Yeah, but a lot of people think when I do stuff randomly, like the team here, they'll think, oh, that's just out of the blue. It's like, oh, no, I've actually been intensely considering it in my mind for a long time.
Just the way it comes across.
Yeah, so I had researched it. I did the Carfax report and I looked at the average prices and all the ones that were for sale at the moment. And I showed the dealer. I'm like, well, that's the average price. They're the average Ks. This car, it's probably a bit under average for basically or over average or whatever it is. So I got the price under the average sale price.
Do you use Redbook?
Well, that's what it basically was. Yeah. So they do the personal PPRS or personal property securities register or something like that. But it's a dealer, so it's not going to be encumbered. But I just hate the whole process of buying a car from a dealer.
Yeah, it's not pleasurable.
And it's just like, and I like a deal. I said to the guy selling to me, I'm like, mate, if you can hook me up, I might be able to, give you a bit of a gift in an envelope.
What, a spending plan voucher?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And
discount code.
And the manager came over and I'm like, who are you? Like, this guy started talking to me. I'm talking to this other guy. I'm like, excuse me, who are you? He was the dealer manager.
Was he?
And I said, all right, you want some cash? He's like, oh, no, we can't do that. I'm like, all right, no worries. And then the guy I was buying it off, I actually saw on his phone, there was like a photo of him and his wife and a young kid, and he told me he just had a 7-month-old or a new kid. And so I took him over to the corner and shook his hand, and there was some little Christmas gifts for him.
In the hand as you shook it?
Yeah. But I only did that just, I don't know, it's like, got a young family. He did what he could. It's a bit of goodwill. Yeah.
So you're thanking him for the discount, or were you just appreciative that he sold you a car?
I don't know what I was doing. I had a bit of cash on me.
Yeah.
So I thought I would.
To get rid of some dirty money.
Well, I just like to, how can you in your life enter a situation and leave changing someone's world?
Yeah, totally.
Somehow.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked the question. I was wondering.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well done.
But yeah, it's a white Lexus 2016. It's the IS350F Sport. It's and it's the end of 16 model, so it is the 17 shape. And my kind of guide is always around 4 years old with less than 60,000 Ks is your sweet spot. It's got 50,000 Ks on it. Good price, looks brand new, smells brand new.
Happy days.
It fangs.
Cool. All right, we done?
Yeah.
Wrong podcast for that.
Yeah, we've got a car podcast. If you're still listening, what the hell are you doing?
Love your work, everyone.
Sweet.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
You're about to promote your car podcast.
Oh, yeah, we've got a car podcast. Yeah, I know. I'm checked out. When Alex got here today, I was not in a good space, was I?
A hot mess.
I was a hot mess.
Why?
Oh, I just had like 2 back-to-back long Zoom meetings, and then there was confusion about an episode we did before this, and I was just stressed, John. Back off.
Yeah, you've got a stressful life.
I've heard 2 podcasts recently where you've checked out while the guest is still talking.
He's gotten to sleep a few times.
You're like, yeah, I'm done.
Oh, yeah. I can't do these podcasts forever. I'm not cut out for this life. It's just...
all his family commitments he's got and...
Totally. Nah, no family over here yet, kids.
Nah.
All right.
Good times.
Is this awkward?
No, I'm fine
I'm
with
waiting. You'll wait till you're dismissed, John.
it. The bell's gone here.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you.
Nate,
Bye.
for editing.
All
Bye.
right, bye.